So 1040, call it 1045.
Okay. Well, then let's jump ahead for a moment into, and you answered some of this a little bit, but let's talk about audience, the people you're talking to, and talking to marketing, they're talking about the audience is usually, lab managers or, those running labs within a hospital system or separate lab or in the pharmacy. And tell me if that's your impression. Are those the people that you're selling to, talking to? How would you define, the audience that you're actually talking to?
Yeah, no, that's accurate. If I'm giving a presentation, typically it's the laboratory, and if there's a PhD laboratory director, typically that's who's going to make the final decision. There's usually pharmacy and infectious disease folk in the room. The difference is, whether or not they're going to go with my product or the competitors, you're going to have to convince whoever is running the lab. Most of the time it's a PhD laboratory director. If it's a lab that doesn't have a PhD director, it's the lab manager. The pharmacy folk and infectious disease people, their main focus is the technology. I want a faster ID. And the lab needs clinical support to justify the cost of spending $250,000. They're not going to be able to, get that approved by laboratory administration or hospital administration without some type of clinical champion. But these pharmacy people and infectious disease people don't care whether it's a Bruker or a Vitek MS. They just want a faster ID. So you need them in the room to sort of justify the technology, but whether or not it's going to be us or our competitor is more often than not determined by the laboratory.
So what is the laboratory looking for if they're not looking for a faster ID?
Well, the laboratory is ultimately wanting to provide best practice. I mean, laboratory medicine, they do have a vested interest in working with their clinical teams to provide the best result possible. But they're also looking for, ease of use. If they can save on an operating budget, which the multi-top allows them to do. They're working ideally, they're working with their clinical teams to provide patient care, best practice patient care as well.
Sure. Let's talk in terms of like a pain point for these guys. If we lump together the pharmacy and the infectious disease folks as one group and the labs as another, when you're talking just to one or the other and you're like, I know this is their pain and this is how I'm going to solve it, what are you thinking?
Well, recently they've all been tasked with, one of the buzzwords you hear out there is antibiotic stewardship, right?
Right.
So stewardship is basically improving the way they provide antibiotics, rational use of antibiotics, faster turnaround times, better diagnostics. And so, just like companies like the Ameri are part of the stewardship conversation too. We're tasked with providing better and faster diagnostics to our customers, but they're tasked with, showing that they've implemented a stewardship team, which typically consists of, the lab, the pharmacy, maybe an infectious disease or infection control person, and that they're meeting regularly, that they have people heading these meetings, that they're making progress with improving their antibiotic stewardship. So we know that hospitals are tasked with that. And, we can sort of make the pitch that our solution helps them in that goal. So not, yes, we're providing, world-class technology around identification and susceptibility testing, but, you can use this as, a way to report back to the people that be in your institution that this is also a way to better, their antibiotic stewardship and being better stewards of providing rational use antibiotics and in a faster manner.
Right. if we're looking
you know,